More engine failures, here we are again, and Kia's at it once again. Kia has a bunch of recalls, and if it wasn't bad enough that Kia and Hyundai have gone through all kinds of problems with their Theta II engine, we're talking millions of potential engine failures. People are still waiting in the backlog to get a lot of their engines replaced because of a lot of issues. Rod bearings, one, particulate in the engine. Of course, there's other engines later on that came that they found that piston rings were scraping the sidewalls, creating other kind of problems. There was also other fire hazards in the engine compartment, some of it related to brake fluid into some of the electronics in the ABS controller is one of the key issues that we're finding too that are leading to, the hazard of fire. And NHTSA is not loving Hyundai and Kia, and they're pretty much holding them to task because here are the latest one that we'll notice right here. Kia recalls 137,000 cars due to the risk of engine failure. Now, 137,000. Remember, this is where this all begins. Hey, Mark, okay, the Theta II, it's got a lot of bad rap. But what about the NU engines? They're great now, right? The new Hyundai and Kia engines are way better than the outgoing Theta II. Well, wait a minute. These are those new engines. Now Kia has this NU engine. We're talking about a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, and now there's catastrophic failures. There's more than 400 complaints from 2021 to 2023 model years specifically. And if you've got Kia Souls or the Seltos, and I've test driven a Seltos before, what I will do is share the review of the Seltos, the Kia Seltos, at the end of the video over on 6Speed Car Reviews. Definitely go give it a look because you're going to love that review. It's absolutely great, nitty gritty, of course, my style. Unfortunately, that vehicle as well as the Kia Soul have a recall. There's 137,000 on the list. What it is these engines have a possibility of the oil control rings. So pistons usually have 2 to 3 rings, usually 1 or 2 compression rings, and then at the bottom there's an oil scraper ring. And that what that does is it cleans the cylinder walls. As it lubricates, it scrapes it back down and drops the oil back into its original spot, which is into the sump. Too much buildup, and now if those oil control rings aren't doing their job, it results in, depending on the level of failure or the mode of failure, if the rings break, it could cause scoring in the cylinder walls, and heavy oil consumption is likely the result. You're going to see a lot of oil, smoke coming out of the backside, kind of like the Dodges of old, right? But what we have is cars that have heavy oil consumption. What's the solution? Hyundai Kia allegedly have some noise detection equipment. Right. Anyway, for those that have asked me and said, look, you know what, Mark, you're wrong. You are wrong. The Theta IIs are junk, but these new NU engines are great. Well, you know what? Here they are. We have engine failures in some of these new Kia and Hyundais, or Kia engines, specifically Kia Soul. Here's another issue. Stellantis now recalls 68,000 vehicles over engine issues. Now, what is that specifically about? Well, Stellantis has been nothing short of spectacular in terms of failures. Stellantis, they own a lot of vehicles, not just the Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, but, Alfa Romeo, Maserati, but they also own brands like Citroen, Peugeot, Opel. Opel was also at one point part of GM, but they've toggled over. As many as 57,000 Citroens, 8,000 Opels, and 2,500 Peugeots. The 208's equipped with the 1.2 PureTech 3-cylinder engine. Why would anybody want a 3-cylinder engine in the first place? 4 cylinders are bad enough, but at least they're conventional. They run more smoothly. They're inherently a better balanced engine. But a 3-cylinder engine just never sounds right at idle. You have a misfire somewhere, it's enough to stall an engine, whereas a misfire in a 6-cylinder, you barely even notice it. So it's just not a good design, but what they're finding is these 3-cylinder engines are recalled between 2022 and 2024 for some internal engine issues related to oil cooling, jet nozzles, not getting the proper lubrication ultimately. A lot of it plugs off, and they're saying that they need to have more frequent oil services, undergo oil, filter changes. Honestly, all they're saying is, well, it only takes 30 minutes. That's what's wonderful. But here we are again with engines that are very fragile and, a high probability of failure. It seems like Stellantis, in my opinion, my own personal opinion, seems to be the culmination of the worst, least reliable vehicles on the planet. I've got a video coming up. I deep dive into some of the worst vehicles, the most problem vehicles per 100, based on JD Power, is actually properly researched, where they polled 34,000 owners after 3 years of ownership. So essentially the first during the warranty period where people can walk away after a decision. And there's many Stellantis products on that list, unfortunately. Here we are. Okay, Tundras and Lexus LX engines. We've spoken about this before. The 3.4 liter turbo V6 It's old news. We're talking about 102,000. But the worst part is the recall originally was for 2022 and 23 model years. But now we're seeing on the Tundra sites, there's people actually saying, look, they've got a 24. I've even heard of 25 model year vehicles where some of those are actually having sustained engine failures in the same mode of failure. There seems to be a wider spread issue, and owners of 24s and 25s now are pulled into this vortex of despair by Toyota. And I don't know if Toyota can get a break. You know, they're having so many problems. GR Corolla's blowing engines, these 3.4s blowing engines. You know, there's starvation, oil starvation in their flat fours with the BRZs and the GR86s. It just seems to be something going on there. I don't know, quality, maybe attention to detail. But here's one that I want to focus on. There's 3 newer model SUVs known for premature engine failure. One of the engines that they identify with is a 2016 Hyundai Tucson, as identified as one of the most problematic vehicles, known and notorious for engine issues. Specifically the 2016 Hyundai Tucson. Very problematic according to car complaints, but there you go, Hyundai, Kia, they're buddies, brothers from another mother, right? And they all have that same garbage engine. Nissan announces recall due to rear view camera. Okay, great. Model years to avoid. Hard mistake costs Rogue sales. Absolutely it does. NHTSA probant and NEAT 21 Nissan Rogue over inner tie rod. Okay, there's other issues. 60,000 miles, they won't last. Okay, 5 things owners must know about Nissan problematic VC turbo engines. And that's what I want to speak of. See, this VC turbo engines, Forbes kind of talks about that a little bit. And the variable compression engines. Now, a lot of people are like, they had high hopes for the Nissan Murano. And I was down at the dealership yesterday having a look around and scoping out what Nissan's got to offer. Have you seen the brand new Nissan Murano? Very techy looking. The design is quite over the top. They say Nissan Murano, now they finally scrapped the CVT, because we know Nissan struggle with many continuously variable transmission issues. Some people argue back at me and say, look, hey, it's got a revised version of the continuously variable transmission. It's much better. But is it really better? Because we know there's lots of failures with squealing, belt failures, catastrophic failing, smoke, sounds, noise, slipping, juddering. I mean, you name it. That's an issue, that a lot of issues we've seen with some of the Nissan Rogue transmissions. But they've gone to put a 9-speed automatic transmission in the Murano, the brand new Murano, which was inspiring. I was very excited to hear about that, because I thought, you know, that's one of the things that's hurting Nissan right now is the reputation and reliability. See, it's more than just the reliability of that CVT. Great, they've addressed that. It's got the 1.5 liter variable compression engine in the Murano. I thought, oh my God, they fixed one problem, but they didn't fix the other one, because it's these variable compression engines that are showing to be problematic. Instead of having, you know, simple connecting rod, you know, you got your crankshaft and your piston and they just do this. No, instead of this, they have multiple joints in there that do all this variable manipulation to vary and alter the compression ratios. Now, it sounds wonderful, but it's too much technical going on there. You've got direct injection, you've got turbocharging as well incorporated, and the engines just aren't that reliable. So it's sad, but Nissan, here we go. Lots of issues, and specifically we talk about that problem that they're sustaining. In the 21 to 23 Nissan Rogues, many owners are noticing engine failures. I personally know somebody who just bought a brand new Rogue, just bought it this year. They only had something like 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers on it, and already it started to develop some kind of weird drivability issue, surging and some kind of weird noises. They actually had to take it into the dealership. The worst part is they came out of one of those catastrophic Kia engines. They did. They literally owned one of those vehicles. That engine blew on them, so they said, I've had enough, I'm scrapping that vehicle. They went to a Nissan believing that that was going to be better. Lo and behold, now they themselves have an issue with this Nissan Rogue that they just bought. There's one more. The Chevy Tahoe's engine failures. That's right, 2019 to 2024. But wait a minute, it's more than just a Chevy Tahoe. NHTSA investigate potential engine failure in nearly 1 million GM trucks and SUVs. Little known Chevy Silverado Tahoe Suburban trick disables DFM. Okay, great. Investigates GM over stalling SUVs and pickups. It's more than stalling. When your engine blows up, yeah, it's going to stall. And that's what's happening here. Because there looks like in that 5-year time frame, they've got this L87 engine, and you can look along here and see all kinds of issues. The L87 engine is a V8 6.2, and they're seeing a lot of problems. Right there, 877,000. I've spoken about this before, And a lot of this, resonates with me due to poor quality, in my opinion. General Motors has had some problems with reliability. It feels to me like they're more focused. See right here, GM's broken 6.2 V8s are stranding owners for weeks as a replacement engine pipeline dries up. So they're running out of stock. They're running out of engines. People are waiting. There's a backlog. I mean, what worse scenario could you possibly imagine? It's sad, but this is what's going on in the world of vehicles these days. They're creating a lot of complicated engines, direct injection, variable compression in some cases. Other cases, GM, they're having engines with lifter issues in some engines, 5.3s. They're having these issues now where this 6.2 in this Tahoe, they say this chalk it up to bad main bearings or rod bearings. They saying, there's particulate in there, and the potential bad bearings as well are the main contributing factor where it could take out. You could score a bearing, wipe a bearing, and then you take out the crank as well. And it could be a very expensive repair if it's on your dime. But you know what? The worst part is GM is having a lot of problems with their 6.2s. This is just something, and as I scroll through here, you see there's no shortage of problems related to General Motors and engine issues. I could scroll for days, everybody. This all speaks to me that quality control seems to be a problem. Toyota, Honda's having problems. General Motors, Hyundai, Kia. Do we need more to talk about? There's lots of engine issues to talk about here. And a lot of it comes down to, in my opinion, outsourcing of materials, bearings, a lot of problems we've seen already. Some of these outsourced materials, maybe they've got to be more cautious about who they're buying their materials from, specifications, quality control on manufacturing. Is it a Friday vehicle? I don't know. There's many different reasons and potential contributing factors here, but they're all a problem. And it's sad because the customers end up paying the hard price at the end. Whether you get it done under NHTSA and the recall and they do it for free, you're still out to lunch. You've still got to wait to get a rental, or sometimes these manufacturers don't want to give you a rental if it's a long term, or you got to find another means. And then when you get it fixed, is that the ultimate solution? We've seen Hyundai and Kias with more than one engines that they've had replacements that have failed as well. There's been common issues with some of that. It just doesn't begin and end. It feels like quality seems to be just a common problem with a lot of these manufacturers. And it's all for the pursuit of complex engines, drivetrains, but it's all supply chain, outsourcing, lower costs, looking to streamline, save money. GM not painting ashtrays. Why? To save $1? Not putting bolts in their hinges, holding up their doors. Glue it instead. Why? Because it might save them $5 per vehicle. Over the course of millions of vehicles, of course, it's money saved, but it's cost-cutting measures that are causing a lot of these issues, in my own personal opinion. But I do want to focus on this because this seems to be a recurring theme. Problem drivetrains and engine issues that we shouldn't be seeing, but we're seeing them more and more every single day. Be sure to check out that video on 6-speed reviews. You're going to want to see it, the Seltos review, and as well right there. If you want some actual reliable vehicles, right there, 25, there are some great ones. So hope to see each and every one in the next one. We'll see you real soon, everybody. Bye-bye.